If you're living paycheck to paycheck and someone talks about investing or saving, it can feel like being told to swim while you're still learning how to float. So let me say this first. You are not broken. You are not lazy. And you are definitely not alone. Even if your bank account groans every month and you're living on the edge of overdraft, you can still reach your first 100,000. We're going to break it down in a way that's real actionable. So, why the first 100,000 feels impossible. Living paycheck to paycheck feels like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Money comes in and disappears immediately. Rent, bills, groceries, gas, something always breaks. And when someone says, just invest your money, you're like, with what? Vibes? Early on, your money barely grows and you are doing all the work. It's like pedaling a bike uphill with groceries in the basket and one flat tire. So, what $100,000 actually changes? Here's the magic number, $100,000. At around 8% annual returns, that money earns roughly $8,000 per year. Not life-changing. Well, maybe. Pressure changing? Absolutely. It's enough to cover a big bill, or groceries for a month, or give you breathing room when life hits. Before 100,000, you're carrying money. After 100,000, money starts carrying you. Well, a little at first, but enough to feel different. So, let's talk about the biggest question here. How do we even save when there's nothing left? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't save money that doesn't even touch your bank account. The first goal is creating margin, even a tiny one. Think of margin like oxygen. You don't need a lot, but without it, everything feels harder. So let's talk about how we can actually create that margin. Step 1. Start small, not perfect. Here's the truth. You don't need to save $500 a month immediately. Start small, $20, $50. Whatever doesn't make you panic. This isn't about the amount. It's about proving to yourself money can stay. You're patching the bucket, not filling it yet. The next step is to automate the tiny win, set up automated savings. Because, let's be honest, you know your willpower will disappear when your favorite food app pings you at 8 p.m. So if money gets assigned somewhere before you see it, you won't emotionally spend it. Small automated savings are like planting seeds. You won't notice them growing day by day until one day, surprise, a forest appears. Step 3. Study your spending. Have you ever checked your bank account and thought, wow, someone robbed me, and then realized that someone was you? Most people treat money problems like a mysterious house fire.
They just stand there like, wow, that's crazy.
Studying your spending is basically installing smoke detectors. You're not panicking, you're observing. So, be brutally honest about your spending. Track every dollar you spend, write it down, study it like a detective. Coffee here, subscriptions there, it all adds up. Once you've tracked everything, it's time to find the leaks. Now, look at your top 3 spending categories and ask yourself, does this match what I say I care about? If you say you value health, but mostly fun takeout, freedom, but subscribe to 14 streaming services, travel, but your money never leaves your couch, well, congratulations, you found the plot twist. Budgets are like diets. Everyone starts motivated, and then life shows up with pizza. Instead of budgets, create spending rules that works for you. Think of your money as a little army. If you don't tell it where to go, it wanders off like a bunch of toddlers in a toy store. Now let's talk about lifestyle for a second. For a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, their lifestyle is like a balloon blown up so tight, it's one bad month away from popping. Here's some real number. In 2025, the average US household spent more than $10,000 a year on food. That's groceries plus eating out. This is sneakiest line item. Because it doesn't feel expensive, it just shows up every day like a coworker you didn't invite. And here's the part that surprises most people. Almost half of that was takeout. Restaurants, takeout. Coffee shops, food that comes in bags. with logos and regret. I know life is busy, cooking feels like a second job, and sometimes we just need fries for emotional support. Totally valid. But this is where margin comes from. Not cutting joy, just adjusting the volume a little. Let's break it down with real money. Say you spend about $7 on coffee every workday. That's roughly $1,800 per year on something you finished before your emails loaded. Now add lunch. $15, 3 days a week. Nothing fancy. Just, I didn't pack anything and now I'm here, kind of lunch. That's another $2,300 a year. So, just coffee and lunch, not dinners, not groceries, not weekends. And you're already close to $4,000 a year. $4,000 that quietly walked out of your paycheck. One receipt at a time. Now let's zoom out for a second. If you make $3,000 a month, that's about $36,000 a year before taxes, which means nearly 12% of your gross income went to food you didn't cook at home. Before rent, before utilities, before car payments, before life happened. And again, no judgment here. I know we're tired, we're busy, and sometimes a sandwich feels like a perfect survival decision. But this is why it feels impossible to save. Because the money isn't disappearing dramatically, it's leaking quietly. Now let's talk about one of the most expensive expenses. Car. Transportation eats up about 17% of the average budget. And most of that isn't gas, it's just a car payment. You buy a $30,000 car, and in the first year alone, it might lose $5,000 to $8,000 just from depreciation. The moment that car rolls half a tire out of the dealership, your net worth drops by thousands of dollars. So you're basically paying top dollar for something that already belongs to the past. It's like buying yesterday's phone at tomorrow's price, and then you stack on insurance, interest, maintenance, and premium gas because it runs better apparently. Again, not bad, not wrong, just expensive. And here's the key idea. A $650 car payment versus a $350 car payment doesn't look dramatic on paper. But that $300 difference, that's $3,600 a year. That's the wiggle room for investing. That is future you money. And then housing. Housing is the biggest line item for most people, and it's also the hardest to change, so be kind to yourself here. Sometimes you're paying for safety, sometimes for location, sometimes for sanity, and that matters. But even small adjustments create breathing room. So maybe a slightly smaller place, maybe a roommate for a season, maybe staying put one more year instead of upgrading because this is what adults do. A $300 difference in rent isn't just cheaper housing. It's margin. Margin is what lets you invest. Margin is what lets compounding start working. Margin is how you stop feeling like every paycheck already has plans without asking you. So let's not make this sound bad. I'm not saying you can never eat out or enjoy your favorite food, especially if you don't know how to cook it. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, then something has to give. You can't treat every day like a celebration when your bank account is in survival mode. Nobody wants to live on sadness and instant noodles forever. So, what actually works is small adjustments. One step at a time. Instead of ordering food all the time, cut it back by 2 times a week. That's it. Not zero. Just less. Honestly, I'm also a food and coffee lover, so I get it. But most of your favorite coffee drinks, you can make at home for about a quarter of the cost. Same taste and less money leaving your life. And then look at your subscriptions, streaming services, apps, random trials you forgot about. If you don't use it, cancel it. That's not being cheap, that's being intentional. Final are other bigger expenses. You don't need to change everything. You just need to stop leaking money long enough for momentum to show up. Think of it like water pressure. If it's leaking out of 10 places at once, nothing builds. But when you seal just a few big leaks, the tank finally starts to fill. This isn't about deprivation, it's about alignment. You're not cutting spending because you hate your life. You're creating space so your money can finally start helping you push. The next step is to increase your income. Let's be honest for a second. Budgeting alone can't fix low income. You can color code your spreadsheet, cancel every subscription, and bring lunch from home. But if the income isn't enough, the math still won't work. That's not a discipline problem. That's not a character flaw, just reality. At some point, income has to grow. And this part matters because income is one of the biggest drivers to get you to your first $100,000. Early on, that first 100,000 isn't built by the market. It's built by paychecks. Income and spending have to work together. One brings in more fuel, the other makes sure it doesn't leak out everywhere. Growing income might look like asking for a raise even though it feels awkward. Learning a new skill slowly after work with YouTube open and even if your motivation is on low battery. Freelancing or a side hustle, not because you love the grind, but because future you deserves a little breathing room. I know these don't sound easy at all, but let's trying. Just long enough to build momentum. Think of it like climbing a ladder while carrying a heavy backpack. Bills, rent, life. You don't sprint, you don't jump steps, you climb one rung at a time. Income helps you climb faster, discipline keeps you from slipping, and when those two work together, that first 100,000 stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. The next step is to pay off your debt. And I mean, if you have any, now here's the uncomfortable truth. High interest debt is always working against you, like a background app you never opened, but somehow it's draining your battery every month, like a treadmill that keeps speeding up while you're already out of breath. And this is why, if you've got high interest debt, trying to pay it down before serious saving or investing. Because trying to invest while carrying credit card debt is like trying to run uphill while someone quietly adds weights to your backpack. You're moving, but it's way harder than it needs to be, and that doesn't mean you save nothing. You're still trying to keep a small emergency fund, just enough to stop life from sending you right back to the credit card. Think of it as duct tape for your finances, not pretty, but effective. And don't try to pay off your debt all at once. That's overwhelming, exhausting, and a great way to give up by Tuesday. That's how people panic and eat ice cream for dinner. Pick one balance, the smallest, or the one with the highest interest, whichever keeps you motivated enough to actually keep going. We're not trying to be perfect. We're here to get momentum. Think of debt like a bad roommate. It eats your food, never pays rent, and somehow makes you feel guilty. Every balance you pay off is one less roommate, one less bill, one less mental weight. Your paycheck stretches further. Your stress drops. You stop flinching every time you open your bank app. And here's the part nobody warns you about. Paying off debt feels amazing. It gives you the positive reinforcement to keep going. You're not suddenly rich, but you're finally breathing. And no, you don't have to suffer. You don't need to cancel every joy and live on plain rice and financial podcasts. All you need is a plan that works in your real life with your real energy. Because once debt is off your back, saving gets easier. Investing becomes possible, and progress finally sticks. The next step is to stack up your emergency fund. I know this isn't the fun part, because there's no dopamine, no fireworks, but if money had a seatbelt, this would be it. If you were living paycheck to paycheck, an emergency fund isn't about getting ahead, it's about not falling further behind. Because emergencies don't care what your bank balance looks like. They just show up, uninvited, like a raccoon in your kitchen, a flat tire, a medical bill, a broken phone, a random life happened. Without an emergency fund, those things go on a credit card, and suddenly a $400 problem turns into a $700 problem. That follows you for years. An emergency fund is not an investment. It's not trying to grow. It's trying to protect you. Think of it like a financial airbag. You hope you never need it, but when you do, you're really glad it's there. Now, let's be real. If you're barely getting by, saving 3 to 6 months of expenses can sound laughable. Like, cool advice, I'll do that after I win the lottery. So start smaller. Your first goal isn't 6 months, it's 1 month, or even one paycheck, or even $500. Something that says, I can handle one surprise without panicking. That alone changes everything because once you have even a small cushion, you stop making desperate decisions. You stop choosing between bad options. You stop swiping the credit card with your heart racing. You get breathing room, and breathing room, it gives you options. And options are powerful. So, where should it live? Absolutely not in your checking account where it earns vibes and nothing else. Put it in a high yield savings account where it actually earns something instead of just sitting there judging you. Build it slowly. Automate it if you can. Even $20 a week counts. This isn't about being perfect. It's about building a little shock absorber between you and life. Because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, the goal isn't to win the game overnight. The goal is to stay in the game long enough. The last step is investing. Once you finally create some margin, this is where investing comes in. Not to get rich overnight, not to impress strangers on the internet, just to let your money start doing a little of the heavy lifting for once. And here's the key, keep it simple. Broad index funds, long-term mindset, no day trading.
I know. There's that legendary 1% who make it. And if you're watching this video, you're probably not applying to join them today.
So if you can use tax advantage accounts, do it because paying less tax, it is one of the few legal life hacks we have. If your job offers a 401k, start there, especially if there's a match. That's free money. And if you don't like free money, I don't know what to tell you. If you qualify for a Roth IRA, that's another great option. You're planting seeds that future you get to enjoy tax-free. And future you deserves nice things, like peace of mind. And maybe knees that still work. And if you're investing through a regular brokerage account, that's fine too. It all counts. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation. You don't need to be a finance genius. You just need to be consistent and not panic. Think of boring investing like meal prepping. Is it exciting? Absolutely not. But it works. And 6 months to a year from now, when everyone else is wondering where their money went, you are fed financially. There's one more thing nobody warns you about when you start getting serious with money, and it's important for you to not be influenced by. That is the people around you might get weird. Not bad weird, just uncomfortable weird. When you start saving, investing, and thinking long term, people around you will say,
Money isn't everything, or you can't take it with you, usually while ordering another round and putting it on a credit card.
well, let's be honest, they're not wrong. Money isn't everything, but neither is stress, neither is anxiety, neither waking up at 3 a.m. to check your bank account like it owes you an explanation. The tricky part is this, when you change, it shines a little light, and not everyone likes that light. So sometimes they joke, they tease, they say you're doing too much. They'll tell you to relax because your growth makes their comfort wobble. Think of it like switching to a salad when everyone else ordered pizza.
Suddenly you're no fun. Suddenly you're on a health kick. Even though you just don't want heartburn anymore.
Choosing your future self can make your present circle uncomfortable, and that's okay. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to convert anyone. You don't need to make a PowerPoint about compound interest at dinner. You just quietly keep going. The people who matter, they'll adjust, they'll support you, or they'll meet you there later. And if they don't, that's not a failure. That's just growth. Your first $100,000 doesn't come from being a genius. It comes from small wins, tiny margins, boring consistency, and choosing not to quit, especially on the days it feels pointless. That first 100,000 is hard because you're building it before money starts helping you. You're doing all the heavy lifting, but once you cross it, believe me, things will get lighter when momentum shows up. So if this helped you even a little, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And leave a comment if you're on this journey too. And I want you to know this, you're not behind, you're not late, you're not broken, you're just early, and you're doing the hard part right now.